Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, here to ask, can a 99 driving dunk point guard play with an inside big in NBA 2K25? So as you can see, I have my boy Tanner right here, one of my IRLs. He's on a 99 driving dunk build with 90 vertical, so it gets like elite contacts off 1, off 2, small guard contacts, every single package you could possibly have except for the big man contacts, obviously. And then it gets like legend poster out the gate as well with the 90 vert. Another interesting thing about the 90 vert is the rebounding ability that it adds to the table as well. And as you can see, it only has 84 three-pointer, however. So that's why we're here to ask, can a build like this still run point guard while playing with a pure inside big? Now, as you can see, my build that I'm on while playing with him in this video that you're going to see right here is the versatile stopper, the 6'8 small forward build that's technically playing as the big man on threes. And I have a 93 driving dunk myself while having 25 three-pointer, still some ball handling ability, and it's mainly here for defensive purposes as well. But the rebounding is still provided, and it's another lob option, if you will, where if the big man takes away his drive too early, I could be trailing in on an alley-oop, essentially, where you can kind of read that 2-on-1. So it's a little bit more old school pick and roll style, where it's not such a 3-hunt point guard, kind of on some like Derrick Rose stuff, where it still can be some shots, but it's not exactly something that's being hunted. However, when stuff really hits the fan, you will see him absolutely, hunt threes and really do like some good outside point guard type stuff that you would expect. So on the other end, obviously 3v3, it's one of the hardest courts in the game in my opinion to not be a 3-hunting guard. It's just easy possessions. Teams will really just get so many easy slips and pick and roll opportunities that it's going to be hard to compete when you can't hunt threes on the other end. And as you can see, it's the exact build that you would have saw in the preview, where same name and all that stuff. Obviously you don't even see the 3-pointer popping up in his top attributes. And the other side's point guard, as you can see, is very meta-centric. It's 98 steal, 99 3, while having like really meta-based other builds on the court with like the 96 steal lock at the 2, while also even still being capable as a ball handler as well, which really can throw a lot of our lineup kind of into a spiral. And then also, they have the 7-footer at the big man that can also shoot. So they have even more of like an outside-oriented lineup at the point guard and the big. And even their guard is still also capable. Where we have a pure lock, they have a pretty much, shooting guard at the 2 right here. So we're playing a little bit of arrows action early on, but you will see that we are trying to switch this up where I'm on the point guard and Kenan is going to be playing the big man. So these are both my IRLs. Like Kenan is also one of my IRLs playing at the big man spot, and then Tanner is at the guard. But we figured it's not exactly a perfect lineup or anything like that, but this is something that can get the job done. You can see I go for a lane right there, don't get it. We don't even get the jump ball or anything like that, but we did waste a lot of their shot clock. So that was definitely a fortunate situation. We're telling Kenan to play low on the rebound right there because I obviously got to chase this contest. And there we go. Perfect, defensive possession. So we're out on the break a little bit, and you can see he throws me a lob. Great look. The typical stuff you would expect out of a PG that, is meant to be kind of an all-arounder, if you will. Now, again, you will see a lot of his scoring in today's video, but I do still want to show some love to just the passing. A lot of people would complain, I'm sure a lot of you guys are in the comments, that if you've played with or against a lot of these outside-oriented point guards, that a lot of them are pretty ball hoggish and, not really looking to throw stuff like that. But with this, Tanner's not exactly built to be a defensive point guard, so it's not to say that he's not, he doesn't care about the outcome of the possession, but you don't necessarily care about chasing the 3 so hard with this lineup. So right here, you can see they're dropping early. We dot him up top, and boom. Even though it's not as a point guard, it's still good enough to be an off ball, and it pairs along with my kind of drive centric, where as long as he's able to spot up on those type of circumstances, it's, plenty good to work together with. So right here, you can see just a lot of random off-ball kind of movement from them. Kenan's bodying up the big man, getting some good stuff to go there. Tanner's in the ISO defense on their shooting guard. And again, it's not like he has a great defensive build, but it is still something that I'd like to think can serve a decent purpose while guarding their secondary ball handler. You can see he kind of maneuvers his way down to the standing dunk, and he will be doing that a lot in this game as well. So it's not like Tanner's exactly meant to be a lockdown by any means. But once again, moving around a little bit off ball, get that Curry escape right there to go, and then we get me switched down with the big. Now that right there, I know it's a little wonky, but it's still got the job done, obviously. If you don't know what triggers this, just to let you know for your own future purposes, if you're holding the X button while the ball is midair, you may actually go for a putback type opportunity right here. I end up missing it though, but either way, we're back on this and get the putback dunk. So it is what it is. And I actually farmed a little bit more takeover off that. It's not like I meant to do it, but it worked out pretty good. So anyway, I got two-way tenacity. I'm trying to get on this point guard, but obviously if they do a lot of off-ball screening between the point guard and the shooting guard, I'll probably just switch that. I try and stay down right there for the drive help, but nothing goes. But it is what it is. Now, into our offensive end right here, I want to show you that this is really what I hope to get out of my point guards on every single court setting, where it's a lot more long run based movement. So right right there, you can see he set up one long run to the right and it gets this guy widened out. You know, he tries to blitz it on the right side of the screen. So what is this guy going to do over here? He's clearly going to play this wide to the left. And that's so obvious. You can see that coming from a mile away. So with me as the big man, this is point guard movement that you can really work with. It doesn't matter if they don't have limitless range or anything like that, like any crazy ability to shoot from super deep. This is perfect movement to be able to work with, and you can really exploit that as a big man. So I mean, while he doesn't have as much three-point aura, if you will, I can't think of a better really term for it. He doesn't have as much, you know, demand from the defense to think about his three-pointer. It is still movement that does demand that type of attention. So right there, you can see we get a nice little body up on the big, but then Tanner gets stuck on him. That's not really his build, in my opinion. That's more so, if anything, he got hit with a off-ball pest, you know, animation right there on the big, and it just doesn't work out in his favor. So a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. But once again, setting up those long run type movements, he goes for the quick stop right there, bang, 3. So what does that mean for them? They're gonna have to play a lot tighter, a lot higher, and those two players playing size defense right there are gonna have to respect that three-pointer. He's already got 2 of them, one off a catch and shoot, one off playing high, and they already gave up a slip off that as well. So everything movement-wise has worked out perfectly fine. You wouldn't expect anything has to do with him being on an inside type point guard right here, because all of it so far has been so well set up with the long runs and the three-point hunting and stuff. Now right here you can see he just denies the screen, goes straight in for the crossover into the dunk. So they're in a tough spot right now. I mean, he's been playing perfect so far, in my opinion, minus like one slip that he threw that ended up getting laned, but I still got the ball off it and, you know, ended up with a putback dunk essentially on that crazy putback like dunk animation opportunity, right? But either way, point being, it's working out pretty good so far, and as you can see, they go with the triple threat. Kenan almost gets the block right there, but they get the basket. So they're down 5 now. This is obviously a tough spot defensively where you aren't really left with too many options. They have the big and the pick and roll now. So this is going to be something where I'm going to be hitting Tanner, and I'm going for the pre-switch kind of slip opportunity. So I assume, and again, this is what I loved out of Tanner, and granted, it didn't work out in our favor, but I do still want to show this so much love because I have had a hard time getting this out of my point guards this year, just in general. But what I want to set this up for is assuming that the guard doesn't want to guard me and the big wants to guard me. So what this means is as soon as I give the defense an opportunity to, I'm slipping right down, and I'd like to think that was a pretty freaking good opportunity to slip, but the lock gets a really good block on this. But point being, the big man I would have thought would have wanted to switch. Either way, the whole point that I wanted to make here is that it was really good movement, and while it didn't end up being the way that I thought it would, it still was really well set up. And you can see Tanner gets out on the break right there. We ended up holding him to a stop on the block right there, so then he's out in the break with like really good speed, really good driving dunk ability. You can see the vertical right there as well, allowing him to get up for that contest really good. Goes for another crossover into another dunk opportunity, and here we are up 17-8 with him on a bill with 84 three-pointer playing pick and roll defense, and me and Kenan are coming out here like sides heavy. I'm here for his drop again. If the big wants to shoot, you know, from that deep, I'll allow it as well, and they do get it to go. They were really hooping in parts of this game for sure. So now reading the defense a little bit, right? This is where the big man's on Kenan, and they got the 2 guards up. So I'm playing very slip heavy, most likely, and you can see Tanner's able to move around really well off that. We get one of the guards ended up dropping with me, and then the other one stays up. So like right here, you can see lockdown playing a little bit more back end style, and they get tied up on each other because they don't play sides defense, and they're trying to do a little more fight through. And point guard, he gets diced up. Tanner with the sharp take for that matter, and the one that's boosting his three-pointer by 10. I mean, man, it's a good spot where, yeah, he doesn't have an 84 three-pointer, but through playing all those slips and those crossovers into the dunks and stuff like that, he now has take, which is giving him plus 10 three-pointer, and that's literally 94 3. While the badges aren't crazy either, that's still a really good capability to be hitting. And speaking of capable of hitting, man, their big man was like carving us up, as you can see, like another pop right there where, again, we didn't set it up perfectly between me and Kenan on the sides D this game. But you can see where we're at right now. Tanner is 6 for 6 with no turnovers, 2 assists, 14 points, and I have 6, 4, and 3. Obviously, Kenan hasn't got any dots or any like passes or anything like that, but that's because the big's been staying at home, or we just haven't had the opportunity to do so. And with this way that we have the lineup set up too, it's a lot more slip heavy because teams, if they don't play any matchup switch, have the lock on me and the guard on him. So it's a lot more like they're willing to play sides D, and maybe the big will rotate, maybe he won't. But either way, point being, there's a lot of offensive potency to this even still while he is on one of these builds. And what you really need, in my opinion, is the ability to actually hit with, you know, a pretty mediocre three-point rating off the screens, and he's capable. And I'd like to think he's a pretty good shooter as well. But either way, he gets a nice little crossover into the driving dunk again, and more of a standing dunk animation technically. But he goes 7 for 7 with 16 points, and 2 for 2 from 3 as well. One of them a catch and shoot, one of them off the dribble from the 3, obviously. And man, I mean, while it doesn't have crazy layup, crazy mid-range, anything like that, the threat of the dunk and three-pointer both being at the same time is really still capable. And again, I mean, you could really make the argument that we don't have a very offensive friendly lineup out here either. We don't have a secondary ball handler to go to because Kennan's just playing spot up on a pure lock, and I'm playing pick and roller on a pretty much pure slasher. I'm not really here for any shooting option, no pick and pop, no anything like that. It's just here's a lob threat and, you know, something that's capable of setting screens and getting to the hoop. A lot of it's more IQ ball between the two of us too, and chemistry. I mean, we've been playing together for years as well. But anyway, let's get into the second gameplay. So let's give an honest take on this as well. Is it perfect? No, not really. I mean, like you saw that gameplay where he did go perfect. Obviously, that's a little bit of an outlier. It's like one of his best games, but it is still a little bit tougher than we just showcased right there to hunt from 3 and really be a threat off the screen. We're here to give you a gameplay that's against a lot more comp, in my opinion, than the last one that we just played right there. And you can see they're actually coming out with the ISO early into some cuts, some like, you know, pick and pop action that they're gonna be doing and stuff like that as well. But anyway, let's just get another gameplay out here. I want to show you kind of being a little more ready to adjust to the type of lineup that we're going to run into. So he goes for the midi off that, and obviously, as you can see, you know, uses the stick shooting and stuff like that as well. It's only around 70 something mid-range, but I do believe those long range ones maybe are still influenced by your 3-point rating. You guys can be the judge of that in the comments as well. But either way, point being, he gets the midi to go right there, and it's not exactly perfect. It would have been ideal if it was the 3, especially on the 3v3 court. You know, you just want as many of those opportunities as you possibly can. So right here, little pre-switch action. I'm dropping down to the big. We got Kenan going up to the guard. He's able to be there for the corner D, but he does go for a jump. So now I go for another jump. Tanner goes for another jump to recover for me. Gets a yellow on that, for that matter as well, with that good vertical and like decent block rating, nothing crazy or anything like that. Right here we have Kenan with the ball. I'm trying to go into some off-ball screen action, but don't get anything to go. So now we're just trying to hold some screens, set up for some long runs. Now this right here, as you can see, was with the guard switching down to me. Now I've already communicated with Tanner that I do prefer to run this a different way than to just chuck it at the point guard, where that type of action that you saw earlier in the video where I had the big on Tanner and the lock or guard on me, it's obvious that they would want to switch that. In that case where they switched it once, they're probably willing to switch it back. So I go for these things that I call the rescreen slip, where I would pretty much give him some action that shows me coming up and giving them an opportunity to what looks like switch back, but I'm just going to slip before they can actually afford to do so. So you will see that into, you know, future gameplays or even later in this gameplay as well. Unfortunately, we get a bad pass off of us, you know, giving up a basket right there too. So that's a big swing in the game. You know, that's a lot to overcome, especially with us lacking the 3 hunting ability on the lineup. So we're already in a little bit of an uphill battle just off one mistake right there on the inbound. So once again, I'm expecting that they are going to be playing blitz heavy. I'm telling him that as well, that I'm holding screens. That I don't want to just be slipping everything and just be a terrible option. And you can see I actually recorded that for my pick and roll tutorial video. I'm telling Tanner to be a little bit cautious right here to avoid the blitz, because if I am going to hold the screens, that means this guy has the green light to actually send it. So as long as he dribbles with this a little bit reluctantly in terms of avoiding those blitzes, now I can play for the rescreen slip that I was just talking about, where I just need to go before this guy is ready to drop. So you can see I have to cut off my angle a little bit, go a little early, and boom, we just get this before the other guy can make it back to me, aka the lockdown, because obviously, you know, that is a really good opportunity for them to switch. So you can use that to your advantage by baiting them into thinking that they have the opportunity to switch back. So anyway, as you can see right there, another cut opportunity. We almost get another turnover right there. A little bit of a tough situation. So now, once again, just kind of being a little bit careful with that. Want to make sure that we don't want to get any like crazy blitzes or anything like that. The guard obviously is a little bit of a safer, like crazy pass opportunity, where even if I, you know, am a little bit contested by the guard, it's likely that we have a chance to get that to go through. And as you can see, we get a block right there. So Kenan's going to have two-way on the other end of the court right now. So now off the inbound, with me having two-way tenacity, it'd obviously be ideal if I could switch with Tanner right here, but the lock's going to stay put in the corner and have the guard, you know, use the big to kind of switch with him right there or get the ball back. And it's a really good just idea from them to keep me away and make it so I can't switch. Not sure if they did that on purpose, but it's definitely likely. I mean, I've seen a lot of threes teams do some really innovative stuff to try and like keep the matchup switches away. So right there, you can see a little off-ball action, and we get Tanner open three. Little edge goes in barely, and obviously that's one of the struggles that you might have with that low three-point shooting. But Now, as you can see, he's played his way conservatively into the takeover. I go with a little bit of swing right there. I'm just here for some bait defense, and now, as you can see, we're back up to the point guard. But yeah, he's got his sharp take now. Hop jumper gets him open. Just a really good move and just dunk opportunity for him right there. It's really tough. We're still down 2, but now Tanner is going to be a little bit more capable 3 hunting with the sharp take and stuff like that, obviously. Now, as you're going to see on this possession, I think that they're going to play a lot more blitz heavy like they have been, so I go with a couple early slips. I'm thinking that the dude's going to like step up, so I don't want to even risk him getting blitzed. But now, unfortunately, he's playing a lot lower. So I'm going to show the screen, hold it like I was earlier, but you can see it's just a really tough possession. This is going to be a really rough one to get out of. So he goes a little bit of a fade to just chuck at the end of the clock right there. You can really not mark that up as a terrible take for him because obviously the shot clock's low. And then you're going to see with the big on the back end, he thought I was going to slip this right here, which honestly would have been a pretty good look. The big did stay a little bit high, but I was thinking that with the big on the back end, we probably want to get him a little bit more like corner fade centric. Now, we just get really stalled out on offense right there. It was a great defensive possession from them. And then they're out on the break right here. You can see he really fumbled that, though. So now, after us getting a little bit fortunate right there with him not taking the 3 or going up the layup right there, we get Kenan in an ISO with only 79 speed, and he's able to hold his own, force this guard to pass over to the corner. Unfortunately, Tanner gets kind of a little dotted where he's overplaying it just a tad bit and gives up a dunk, and they take a 2-possession lead with 4 points, and that's going to be tough. And he gets the deep bomber takeover as well, where he's going to be buffing his 3-pointer and just his ability to shoot from super deep. So we're in a bit of a tough spot, as I already mentioned. You know, this is looking a little bit rough. So now, into the offensive possession right here, I want to show you why maybe you as a big man are going to have a hard time trying to tell your point guards to play like this. Because as easy as I do say it is to play for the rescreen slip right here, you can see a lot of guards, they do force this pass in, where it's a full switch where the lockdown steps to the point guard and the point guard switches on to me. And in my mind, this is the perfect time to run the rescreen slip, but it's very uncomfortable as a point guard to be holding the ball right here with a lock still in your face, you know? So a lot of times people will force that pass. I've seen it out of Bonnie, Apollo, AK, now Tanner right here as well. And it's hard, you know, it's definitely hard to adjust to that. And it does take reps. It takes a lot of chemistry and understanding of like how to go about every pick and roll interaction, but you will learn over time with that. So right here you can see Tanner plays a little bit of a backdoor, you know, on the passing lane and stuff like that. So now they're trying to backdoor Kenan. Kenan's able to play some good defense right here as well. He's once again ISO'd on the point guard, so I'm trying to make sure I don't get steamed on the pass to the big or anything like that either. He's playing really good defense, forces the fade. I get the defensive rebound opportunity, get the double tap one on that crazy stuff right there. Kenan gets a nice catch and shoot opportunity in the corner right there. We're out in transition, and we cut this to a 1-point lead. Looking really good. That's great action for us right there. Now, a little bit of a slip from their 2 right there. That is such tough offense right there. I mean, man, these guys are really like with all the antics on O. Like they get a nice slip opportunity between the 1 and the 2 right there. That is so just nasty as far as something innovative to come out here and do on offense. So point guard's already trying to lane early. Now you can see I'm setting up for a really obvious slip right here. Once again, a little bit late for me, and I will blame myself for that rather than Tanner, where it's pretty obvious that the big was going to step up and play the sides D right there, especially with the score and situation. You know, like obviously we're up 3 and there's only like about 4 more points to go until they end the game. So they don't want to give up a 3 by any means to let us back in the game at all. So we're going to have to earn this back on defense. And as you can see, Tanner playing D on the 2 guard once again. He's going to be able to wall him up on the drive. We're playing sides on that. I'm here a little bit early, and boom, we're there for the block. Now, unfortunately, off the block, they get a wide open 3 in the corner, and we get a little bit lucky. But in transition, we're going to get the guard on me and the lock on him. Now, once again, you would think I really should set up a lot more slip heavy with this combination right here. This is a great opportunity for me to do so. I don't, however, and as you can see, I get the guard switched backed up onto him. That was really bad execution from me. And once again, we had him open for 3 right there. Really bad offensive, you know, just usage from all of us. Kenan misses an open 3. Oh man, it's looking so tough for us out here, and I give up a dunk. So now we're down 3 on game point for them as well. It's looking really bleak. We're just in a really tough spot. So we're going to get him moving around a lot again. Obviously, we're looking to really hunt from 3. And again, I'm like stuck behind him. I'm just going to have to get out the way a little bit and be a lot more slip heavy because they will blitz him. And if they do, it's really going to pay off for them because obviously they don't want to give up a 3 right now. Most teams wouldn't, at least I'd say, because obviously if we do get a 3, we're on game point ourselves. So it's obviously a not great spot to be. We wrap Kenan up on the big, and he hits a massive 3 right there to cut the deficit back to 0, and we're just tie game now. So now I'm letting them both know we can't afford to give up cuts or, like, you know, obviously the slip or anything like that either. So great identification from the two of us right here, I must say, where I'm on the left with the point guard, and randomly they go for another slip where we're both playing low off it, and I'm ready to drop to the 2, and Tanner's ready to get up to the 1. So now they're trying to ISO me with him, and now we get Tanner with the point guard on him, and this is not exactly a great switch. He gives up a little bit of a free drive right there. They're low on the clock, down to 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going for the jump right there, and unfortunately Tanner gets the shooting foul. Now, like I said, fellas, I wanted to use this gameplay as a very serious example of, yeah, it's not exactly ideal in some cases, but honestly, this blends in with a lot of the gameplay stuff. You know, it's not like this is so much his build's fault as it was just we were just making mistakes our own. But we get a crazy big bump right there. He forces the 2 guard out of bounds. Obviously, they had a somewhat capable ball handler at the 2, but Tanner has decent defense enough to force him out right there as well. Now, once again, as I was telling y'all, I really do want to be a little bit intellectual about the pick and roll situations. And thankfully, it does pay off that these guys think with their brain a little bit too. Now, in my opinion, the real smart thing to do right here would be to still blitz Tanner and then, like, have me slip, and then the big man drops and takes away the paint, and it forces the point guard to only have to A, make a read, and then B, our corner would still have to make the 3 for game as well. In my opinion, on a 19-19 game, that's the smart thing to do. That's like the #1 best thing to do. Number 2 would be to do exactly what they did, where they have the big man sit low and force the guard to just fight through the screen, and if the point guard makes a 3 off the dribble, oh well, we lose the game that way. The worst thing out of all 3 of them that they could do is play sides, but with no rotation from the corner, and then they just give up a free slip for game. I call it testing their stupid. Yeah, I've told my point guards about that over and over and over again on, like, game point, that I'll just, you know, let's say, set up the slip from the same side as the corner, and I'll, like, curl it off right here, where if the point guard was right and I'm left, I'll, like, curl off the slip and then set up a little bit of a good angle away from the corner dropper, and that's the perfect way to quote-unquote test their stupid. But again, they play it about the most mediocre way possible, where they just allow the guard to get killed on the screen, and then boom, there's Tanner's 3-point ability. Albeit he was only 2 for 4, but a lot of them, you know, 2 of the misses were shot chucks a little bit at the clock. So he pretty much, you know, banged every 3 we needed him to make, and then Kenan, with some huge 3s as well, came up clutch. Now, my full summary of how I would talk about this build combo, the 84 3-pointer paired with 90, you know, like 93 driving dunk, 25 3-pointer, with me not able to pop, not able to be an option in that regard. I think the only way that you can truly make this work well, in my opinion, is if the point guard has very good vision in terms of seeing that back end coverage on defense, where you didn't see it a whole lot, but maybe an example a little bit kind of like this, where when the point guard is ready to kind of read where the big man is, as far as me being the roller, right? Where if the big man does kind of drop, or let's say play toward Tanner a little bit, right? He can hit me in those little pockets right there, or in some cases where you will see the ball unfortunately get jostled out right here, and we just have some random stuff. He will be able to throw an alley-oop in cases like this, where, you know, he wants to avoid me getting blocked or anything like that. Or let's say instead of the big being all the way up on me, he's maybe all the way faced up on Tanner because he's helping for the drop. That's where you could throw it over top on some real, like, NBA pass read, you know, where, like, the hedge defender just shows too far to the guard, and then he can throw it over top to me on the lob. And contact alley-oops are so good in this game. Throwing it over people's head, just in general, really good. So I know this isn't a perfect example, but you do understand that maybe, like, we call it a fullback dive, where it's essentially him driving and me taking the opposite lane as well on the alley-oop. So he's like more of a read option, technically speaking, but it's like one guy diving and the other guy diving on the other angle as well. So yes, I know it's not perfect or anything like that, but I think you can get the job done. It's just obviously it's gonna be difficult. And, you know, a lot of people do talk to me about in the comments, like the fact that I have so many teammates that have built their builds around me and stuff like that. The truth is, it's not actually the case. I just happen to ask them, you know, what builds they have, and I try and figure out the best fits. And I'd like to think I'm a pretty good, like, you know, on some my league stuff, finding the best rotations and the best lineups to put together. I'd like to think I have a pretty creative mind in terms of what's going to work out together, like whether it's the two-way point guards paired with me as the big man. And I have a lot of builds that kind of fit a lot of different niches too, you know, between where they fit in defensively, offensively, all types of stuff like that. So in this case, it wasn't a great fit, if you ask me. This is not supposed to be a good lineup or anything like that. But can you overcome it in some cases? I think so. Yes. And I believe personally, if we continued to hone our craft at this lineup a little bit more, we'd probably implement a lot more of that fullback dive action that I was just talking about, where he does do a lot more driving off a screen and force the back end to step to him. Because as long as he can beat the lockdown, he then puts the big man in a 2-on-1. In a lot of cases too, you guys had seen that they have like the lockdown on me and the guard on him, where the big is on Kenan as well. So in a lot of cases, what he really could do is put the lockdown in a 2-on-1, because it's going to be easy for him to beat that point guard off the dribble, especially if he's playing him too high on his three-pointer. So really, we could probably master that a lot more as well, where as long as we get the angles down on where he drives and where I roll to, we can have two good options as far as a driving dunk with 99 driving dunk and, you know, like legend poster, as well as Hall of Fame area wizard and like gold poster trailing in with a lob opportunity as well. So I am still a believer in the idea that this could work together. I think you just need a little bit more work in terms of like mastering the craft with your boys together, but it's still capable for sure. And the three-point potency that it still has can definitely work out. I think if you have a second ball handler with this, it could probably work out even better too. But obviously then you have your talks of like defensive versatility and stuff as well, where we clearly would not have that if we had two guards while running a lineup like this. Like if Kenan was on a guard instead of a lock. Like obviously the 2 6'7", 6'8" and stuff like that, they can be very convenient in terms of the switchability that you can have in your pick and roll defense. But anyway, that's besides the point. I hope y'all understand my concept of what I'm talking about in this video of, yes, it's still runnable, but it's not exactly the most desired lineup by any means. But anyway, that's all video. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new to the channel, noties, all good stuff. Like always, try to one to 2,000 likes. If you made it to the end of the video, put dunk in the comments, search sports right through. Shout out to those who are trying to run these types of builds too with like a slasher point guard. I know it's a lot harder than it looks, and obviously especially when you play with inside bigs as well. So anyway, that's all video. Hope y'all enjoyed. None of that. Take it easy, man. Peace.